why is it that certain countries like, oh sorry, continent, obviously Africa has done so much better, and certain other countries like New Zealand, Australia have done so much better with containing COVID than Western countries have. The point I stress is obviously that if we talk about Africa first, rather than bundling them all together, why do you think that certain African countries have dealt with COVID far better than Western countries who you would associate with being able to lock down more because we are economically more wealthy than these countries, if that makes sense? So they don't have the luxury of going into lockdown. They don't have the luxury of doing a furlough scheme because they don't have the money to do it. So why do you think that certain African countries have done so well to contain COVID?
First of all, they put the ban from Europe straight away. That was very clever, very good, to be honest. So close the borders. Some of the cases, actually first case in Africa, I think was reported a bit before it was reported in Europe.
Wow, serious?
I think so, but they found that person, closed the borders, and again, because some of the countries are not that developed in terms of economics, the hit wasn't that high. I think around -2% overall it hit Africa. And also I think it can be said about the way that the population operates itself. People stay and communicate just with their communities.
Yeah.
They're less likely to go to big cities, even if they live in a big city. They are more likely to stay within their group. So that's about the culture itself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But then you could also make that point for a country like India or Bangladesh, which is now in the red zone. People are in those countries. I can speak more for Bangladesh. Don't really go out too far because transport is quite hard. It takes a long time to travel around Bangladesh. Trust me on that one. So I think shutting down early actually must have helped quite a lot then, which, on paper makes a lot of sense.
I won't say that there is, as per every country, as per every continent, there is underreporting.
Yeah.
But you can't hide it so much.
Do you think their kind of experience with the Ebola outbreak kind of helped them help them deal with COVID a bit better as well, because they were like, we've dealt with a kind of, I think it was an epidemic, right? Because it was contained really quickly. And they were like, if we shut this thing down really quickly, we don't have to go through as much, hardship as we went through before.
Yes, definitely. And, Eastern Asia had SARS by the beginning of 2000s.
The 2000s,
so that was another lesson for them as well. So I think that these experiences are giving a lesson. We all passed through swan flu, through the bird flu, but the Europe didn't have such a big hit from that. I'm not sure, but I think the last big pandemic that we had like that in Europe was in about 100 years ago.
Spanish flu.
Or maybe even a bit more time ago. I don't know the exact date. But yes, and first of all, the culture, if you compare not just Africa, but even, for example, Eastern Asia.
Yeah.
People in Europe, people are more touchy. A kiss on a cheek, a hug, a handshake. There, people are waving more likely, or putting the hands together to show respect or saying thank you.
A bowing culture, yeah.
Yeah. So
smart.
that's another part as well.
So, when you talk about countries like New Zealand and Australia, their success isn't just down to having a lot of landmass and a lower population. It is in part down to, locking down early, having strict lockdown procedures for people coming in to their countries.
Yes.
I've read recently that New Zealand plans to open a travel corridor with Australia. Yeah. So if you live within Australia, you don't have to quarantine. And so do you think that these are the sort of precautions? Because, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, has become a bit of an international star, to be honest, because of how well New Zealand have done. They're having barbecues and stuff, and Yeah.
Yeah, and still people from outside can't go there, and also a lot of investment into PPEs, like the protection equipment for the people. In Europe, people from Italy, even UK, France didn't have that first investment from the government into healthcare system. They closed late. UK closed very late.
Very late.
Europe closed late, while the other countries, 2-3 cases, okay, we shut everything down.
Yeah, I mean, they dealt with it really quickly. I mean, there was a Scottish, I think she's a professor in Scotland, I can't remember her name, but she spoke about how there was a pandemic playbook, which was what the Asian countries learned from the SARS outbreak, that you lock things down very quickly and you restrict travel early on in order to snuff out the virus really quickly, a kind of zero COVID policy. So I think that might be more down to their success rate.
Yeah,
You've got to go, right?
Sorry.